Everybody, welcome back to Influencer Chat, where we're recapping the circle. I'm Brian.
And I'm Ben.
And Ben, we finally have a winner. Joey has won the circle. What are your first thoughts about that?
Joey Sasso, I am very happy. It kind of got to a point where maybe like headed into the final episode, I was pretty confident that Joey was going to be the winner. And yeah, I think that he played a great game. He did a lot correct, especially down the the end stretch we can talk about.
Mm,
And I think that it kind of goes to show that the circle is, in a lot of ways, like the ultimate popularity contest,
right.
where you kind of need very broad, like universal likability among
Mm,
the entire cast. Um, and like if you slip up on that at all in any way, then you're like going to be at a disadvantage. And I think one of the reasons that Joey did so well was because it seemed like pretty much everybody liked him.
yeah, no, I mean, he really somehow found a way to be beloved, not only by his fellow castmates, but I think by the public at large.
Yeah, I mean, I've interacted with a couple of people who are still holdouts, but I think for the most part, uh, after like two or three episodes, Joey has seemed to grow on the majority of people watching the show.
Yeah, and so I guess we can kind of talk about this final five because I thought it was a little weird. Like, did Eddie have to survive one eviction? That's it, and then he
Yes.
was in the finale. That's a little weird. Also, there's no chance he was going to be able to win with such little time in the game. But so we had the final five, who we kind of figured were going to be the final five, um, with Joey, Shuby, Sammie, Rebecca, but Seaburn actually, and Chris. Kind of, can we talk a little bit about that and how it's interesting? These are all day one people and what that means for like the game of the circle going forward.
Yeah, sure. I think this season has a lot of parallels actually to the first season of the British version, and so I'm hopeful that the second season of the US version might follow similarly the second season of the UK version, which was more like strategic and had kind of more like moving parts towards the end. But yeah, I think it was clear coming in. We talked about in our last podcast how it seemed like the top five was just going to be the five original people. And within that, there seemed to be a core trio of Joey, Shuby, and Sammie. And so it was likely that the three of them were going to be the most likely to be ranked high, and one of them would probably be the winner. And those ended up being the top three. Um,
Right.
I think that there are a number of because my prediction coming in was that Sammie was the winner, and I know that you had said Joey, but you had also agreed
Yeah,
that
I
Sammie was
was
the likely winner.
like flip of a coin for me between those two last
Right.
week.
I think I think there were a number of things that pushed it to Joey being the winner at the end here. And I think the first thing is this like final six twist that they did, where Ed was one of the people who was rating, and I believe other than I think that he rated Chris 3 and Sammie 4, but otherwise the final rating was basically what Ed had decided. I think he did
Mm,
Joey, Shuby, Chris, Sammie, Rebecca,
right.
and it ended up being Joey, Shuby, Sammie, Chris, Rebecca.
Right.
So I think that Ed's rating in that final thing, because he was so irrelevant in terms of
Right.
the like. I mean, he was a great character, and I
Yeah,
wish
we
that he
like
had
Eddie,
like
obviously.
a better shot.
Mm,
Like he wasn't irrelevant for any like fault of his own. He was
mm,
irrelevant because of the game mechanic where he came in super late, and there
right.
was already like this solid group of five who were like super loyal to each other.
Mm,
Um, but because he was involved in that final rating, and because it seemed like everybody else put him low enough to be the sixth person rated who was like instant blocked.
mm,
It seemed like his rating had a substantial effect on the final outcome.
Yeah. No, and so in the British versions, it tends to be final five. You said.
So it's tricky because the season one rating system was actually out of stars. It was a 1 to 5 star system,
Mm,
um, but they realized that that kind of creates a situation where you just kind of like rate most people 1 star.
yeah.
And so they changed it in season two to the ranking system that we see here.
Mm,
So in season one, there was a final four where you had to give ratings and you had to give away to the three other people
mm,
a total of at least 4 stars.
right.
So you couldn't rate all three of them one. You had to rate
Yeah.
at
Right.
least one of them a two.
Mm,
And that like kind of tweaked the strategy in a way where somebody kind of ended up winning by default in certain ways.
mm,
And so they changed it for season two. They ended up having a final five in season two
mm,
with the ranking system that we see here. And I think that was probably the best way to do it.
yeah.
I think that a five with this ranking system works really well to like try to establish a consistent first place victor.
Mm,
Um, so I'm not really 100% sure why they did this season, other than like maybe time constraints on like episodes
right.
of having Ed be involved in the final ranking.
Yeah, because I think I can pretty comfortably say that Ed wouldn't have been an influencer if they did another normal round, and more likely than not, he would have been the sixth place person out.
Right.
So,
Correct.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Shuby has a gripe right now for how it was handled, but, it is what it is, right?
I mean, I think that without I say that I think that Ed had a big hand in Joey winning, but I think doing the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
Joey still wins over Shuby by maybe 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that Chris rates Joey highly as well.
Right.
So I think that when it came down to it, Joey would have had a 1-1-2-3, and
Mm-hmm.
Shuby would have had a 1-1-2-4. If
Gotcha.
I got those numbers correct. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that Joey still wins, but by a smaller margin without Ed there.
Right.
The biggest thing that counteracted my prediction of Sammie winning,
Mm-hmm.
like my reason for picking Sammie as the winner was because I thought that people would be rating in the final rating a lot more strategically, and it
Yes.
seemed like that was not the case. So
No.
what's your take on that?
No, I say like you said, I expected it to be more of like, oh well, I want to win, and I suspect this person will have higher ratings from other people, so I need to pit them lower intentionally. But it really seemed like the kind of took it as a normal rating as they had been doing the rest of the season.
Yeah, and even Joey, who towards the end, like in the final few rounds, really showed a lot of more like strategic acumen and
Mm,
like thinking. Originally was going to rank Shuby number four strategically,
mm,
but like couldn't actually follow through with it and felt
right.
bad and moved him up to number two, which almost like could have lost him the game.
Yeah.
If he had moved up Shuby up to number one, I think that might have caused a tie.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, that was certainly interesting and a little bit unexpected. So that's also something to keep an eye on going into next season.
yeah.
Hopefully, there's a next season. Um,
Oh, there's 100% gonna be a next season,
I mean,
dude. This is so big on
I
social
think
media.
that yeah, no, I think that the show has gotten big enough where there's almost certainly gonna be a next season as well. But
Mm,
I don't want to jinx
yeah.
it.
All right. Well, maybe I'll be the one to jinx it then.
Yeah.
Um, I think this show is awesome. Personally, I take a step back as just a reality TV fan. I loved this show. Um,
Yeah.
and I think because it did get pretty popular, and because there are a lot of people like us who are just super into these types of games, the strategy is going to be ratcheted up a few notches for the next season.
Yeah. I mean, especially if I'm on it.
Yes, we need to start a campaign. Get Ben on the circle.
Well, I don't want to do that because if I go in as myself, then people are gonna know. So.
Like, oh, it's that guy. Fuck that guy.
Yeah,
That's
I
fair.
guess
That's
he's
fair.
way too strategic, and yeah,
Hmm. Right.
I don't want to handicap myself right off the bat.
Yes, I understand. I understand. So I guess touching on some things, I was surprised that one, the decision by Sean seemingly initially paid off so well, and then two, it just kind of like went down anyways because of a second twist. There were twists on twists in this round.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about there was basically two back-to-back twists,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, and then also the final six twists. But
Yeah,
the the twists from episode 9 and 10. Episode 9 was one that I had talked
you
about
called it.
last. I mean, they literally named
Yeah,
the
named
title
the
of the twist
episode.
that had been previously used, so it was
Nope, you
not like
called it. You
super
called it.
not super difficult. So.
Take the
Yeah, so
credit, Ben.
yeah, so I know that last week when I brought it up, you mentioned that the instant block twist was a decent way to like get rid of people fast or do a
Mhm.
double elimination. But in practice, what did you think about it?
I mean, it's hard to say that it's necessarily unfair just due to the format of the game pretty much always being, at least with this cast, skewing toward getting rid of people who came in after the initial, few people. And so I think Bill and Sean were on thin ice anyways, Um,
Yeah,
and it was just really a matter of time before we're going to get ousted.
I actually believe, besides Alana in the first round,
Mm,
every person who was eliminated by influencers was, I think, the lowest ranked person from the previous ranking.
yeah. Well, it's such
Um,
a easy way, and we see it in like early rounds of like Big Brother, for instance, where it's like, well, what does the majority of the cast want? And in this thing, you actually have like a legit majority ranking of people,
mhm.
so it just becomes an easy thing to just pile on and not rock the boat too much.
Yeah, I mean it's very easy to do what the house wants when what the house wants is mathematically calculated on your screen.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I kind of liked it as a way to just speed up the game, personally.
Yeah, I felt bad. I mean, like I know I kind of ragged on Billy as like a casting decision
Mm,
last week, but he seems like a nice dude, and he seemed like the whole experience for him didn't really leave a good taste in his mouth.
no, I mean,
Pretty salty, so
I would also be salty, in fairness, if I was in his position. It seems like
yeah,
it was through very little fault of his own that he was so quickly pegged and knocked out.
yeah. I mean, I think he did what he thought was the best thing to do, which was to try and like scapegoat against Adam slash Alex,
Mm,
um, to try and like survive an extra round.
mm,
Um, but that didn't really seem to be the case. I think that the only real opportunity you have for like breaking in as a new player,
mm,
uh, it seems to be if there's already some like underlying uh, social issues within the existing group,
mm,
and you're able to come in and accentuate those and like drive a wedge similar to like if you're coming in on like Survivor, for
mm.
instance, in like the Minority or Alliance, the only real opportunity you have to break in is to try and like find a crack in a majority and like drive a
Right.
wedge and like split them apart and drive them against each other.
Mm. Yeah, no, definitely. So, what about this other twist that we had? The instant, like the single
The super
influencer,
super
Thank you.
influencer. Yes. Yeah, this was also a twist that they did in the UK version, and it was
Mm,
executed in a similar way, where the person was anonymous and had to block the person in person.
mm,
And I actually think like it's a pretty interesting way to do it. I don't know if I super like the idea of the influencer being anonymous,
Mhm.
but from like a television perspective, the in-person blocking is certainly pretty great.
Yeah, brutal, absolutely brutal. Especially where Joey had, you know, earlier in the episode set up a kind of positive rapport with Sean. Having
Mm-hmm.
to be the executioner was just brutal.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, also to be fair though, something that irked me about Sean's like coming out message was she was like, "Now I'm being 100% honest with you,"
Mhm.
but she had also lied about her relationship status,
Right.
and she like then proceeded to like go and try and like low key flirt with Joey afterwards,
Mhm.
even if like in a filial way or whatever.
Right.
Um, so it's there's still some uh, I I think that trying to say, oh, now I'm being honest when you're not being honest, and like
Mhm.
creating this like after you'd already like peeled away a facade, and then like being upset at Joey coming to block you. I think that's
Yeah.
I'm not super sold on that. I don't know if you
Mhm.
have any thoughts.
No, I mean, it's tough, but like it's a game, and so I'm not gonna. I don't feel bad for her that she got eliminated through a twist. Um, but the only thing I feel bad for is that these players were put in afterwards, and that's just starting on like your back foot super hard.
Right.
Um, but the twist itself, I don't think is bad, especially where it's face to face. I mean, it's hard too because of the anonymity, but I don't mind that. I like. I actually am a fan of like having mystery and stuff like that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
having to try to deduce. Well, Joey came out right away and told everyone, and it may have worked better um, earlier in the game to have like paranoia run rampant, where it's like
Right.
somebody did this. If we kind of go by who the eliminated, can we figure it out? But what if it's the person eliminated someone to throw us off the track, you know, or to pin it on
Mm-hmm.
someone else? There's a lot there that if used earlier could have been better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure, I agree with that.
And
I
we'll
do
have to
think that it
see.
is a lot of power though
Oh,
to
it's a
have this
huge amount of power, yeah.
and then also have to be anonymous.
Hmm.
What did you think about Joey's decision to block Sean at that point?
I was a little surprised. I thought he was gonna do Rebecca, but I do think they're in the interest of not making it a boring show. They were definitely hiding like a first people in alliance pack. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just
Yeah.
think that existed.
Oh, it for sure exists. I think that if they did, they were definitely trying to hide it, but I think they were doing a bad job of hiding it. I think it
Mm,
was incredibly clear that there was a first like an original People Alliance,
right.
especially between Sammy, Joey, and Shuby,
Hmm.
with like Chris and Rebecca kind of like tagged along as like
Yes.
alternate fourth, uh, like potential fourth
Mm,
players, with like Shuby fighting for Rebecca as a fourth, and probably Joey fighting for Chris as a fourth.
right.
Um, but yeah, no, definitely that was 100% Alliance.
Yeah. So in that sense, it made sense, if you will.
Yeah,
So surprising a little bit for the narrative the show is trying to build. Not surprising if you take a second to think about it.
sure. And also in that same episode, we get kind of the start of Ed coming out against Rebecca,
Mm,
seemingly out of like very like out of nowhere, mostly
yeah.
because of Rebecca's response to the Alex Adam block
Mm,
and finding out that Alex Adam was a catfish,
yeah. I
and then like
mean, shades of
Seagram's reaction.
shades of Steve from BB17 deciding Becky was his arch nemesis out of nowhere. It's a callback, but I think it's
But
accurate.
I mean, in Ed's defense, Ed was 100% correct.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and yeah, Steve won his season. So, who am I to judge anyone going against these Beckys?
yeah, both in both cases making a random enemy out of a Becky.
Oh man, yeah, no, that was certainly interesting, and it would have been interesting if there was any way for a player like Ed to get power. But the way
Right.
the game is set up, it just was never gonna happen. You know.
Yep.
So
But that definitely was an influence on Joey's decision a little bit, and it was kind of a way for Joey to break in and make the social bonds with Ed over that distrust,
mm,
where Joey ends up getting that important one ranking from Ed in the final ratings.
yeah, no doubt. Yeah, is there anything else you want to touch on for this episode? I guess what's your 1,000 foot view? How did the first season of the U.S. Circle go for you as someone who's a fan of the Circle in general?
Right. I think that as like a television product, it was very good.
Mm,
The cast is incredibly strong, and I think it did well enough in creating like a compelling product where it will hopefully get further seasons, especially with the existing production team
mm,
that seems to have the resources to be able to do that. And because it's like it's basically like the most dirt cheap show that you could ever produce.
yeah, the challenges are
um,
like 5 props per thing. Like it's
yeah,
nothing.
yeah, it's like it's like a $75 budget from like fucking Marshalls and
Yeah,
like Michael's craft store.
right.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's certainly kept me entertained, and I'm very excited for future seasons. I think there definitely are places where it needs to be tweaked. Where I think that it ended up being less good than the UK product. I think the main thing is just the length. I think 12 episodes is probably not enough
Mm,
to tell a coherent, like in-depth narrative, especially with that many players.
mm,
So that would be my major complaint slash issue. I also wasn't a fan of the final six twist,
mm,
um, especially with a player there who had only been there for like 2 or 3 days, having such a huge hand in the ultimate winner.
mm,
I don't think it would have mattered too much in this instance, but there are certainly circumstances where it could have mattered even more than it already did.
right.
I don't know. What do you think? What are your uh, takeaways, good and bad?
I think the cast was amazing. The new cast next season, if there is one, will have a lot to live up to, in my opinion. I think the game, while it is kind of flawed from a fairness perspective in terms of players entering, it still is entertaining and it still does do a lot and leaves a lot of room for more strategically savvy players to come in and shake things up. We need like a Rob Sesternino of the circle. Maybe that can be you next
Of the U.S. circle, yeah.
of the U.S. circle, right? We need
No spoilers for the UK circle, but
right. Yeah, we just need
there's a
someone
player in
to
this
come
season.
in there and progress the strategy a little bit. And
Sure.
I
No,
think
I
we could
think
have just a really great um, between Survivor seasons reality TV show going forward.
yeah, I agree. I think that I think there's a lot of comparisons to like the early seasons of Survivor, especially Borneo,
Mm-hmm.
where people had like a very high premium on their like image and likability and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, and like really like overemphasized loyalty to the point where in early seasons of Survivor, like especially after Borneo, people were like, oh well, if pagonging is just the obvious strategy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone like no tribe who comes in to emerge with fewer numbers is ever going to be able to do anything. They're just going to get picked off.
Right.
But like, over the seasons that had changed and people were able to figure out a way to subvert that. And I think that a similar thing can definitely happen with the Circle, where the new players coming in definitely have a disadvantage the same way that a minority tribe would at Emerge and Survivor. But there's definitely room to play, especially when players get more self-serving and strategic going forward, in order to have those players have an easier time to break in.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So is there anything else you'd like to touch on before we head out of there and see them with the next season of the Circle for the UK version, most likely?
No, just congrats to Joey for winning. Congrats to Sammie for winning the fan favorite vote.
Yes.
Sammie, who I voted for fan favorite, so I'm very happy for that as well. Especially when it became clear to me that she probably wasn't going to win. Like when I was watching the episodes, and then I think early Thursday morning I got another vote in for her. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I think that it turned out definitely well enough for me to give it 2 thumbs up.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm very excited for another season if that is the case. Most of the people I know who have watched it have had a lot of positive things to say about it, so that makes me excited for the future. And
even people who don't usually watch reality TV.
Right, yeah, which is fun. It could be a interesting way to get people into the other shows. Hopefully, yeah. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. This has been our coverage of the first season of the U.S. Version of The Circle. Ben, where can they find you online if they want to give you a follow?
You can give me a follow on Twitter at BenSharon, BenSharron, where I tweet about all kinds of shit. Not just reality TV.
Not just
I do tweet about, but I do tweet about reality TV as well.
Tweet about how amazing Patrick Mahomes is, because holy shit. That guy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd definitely be tweeting if he ends up winning the Super Bowl in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that'd be exciting. You can follow me on Twitter at TheFakeBMar. That's BMARR. You can follow the channel on Twitter at WGEverything, on Instagram at WickedGoodEverything. Of course, we're on Twitch at twitch.tv/WickedGoodEverything. The main channel is youtube.com/WickedGoodEverything. This will be on youtube.com/ a lot of random characters, because we do not have 100 subscribers yet. So you just have to search Wicked Good Podcasts. You'll be able to tell us, because there's actually a Wicked Good podcast now, Ben. Did you know about this? This is outrageous.
I had heard.
Yeah, this is outrageous. But in the last week, we've pretty much knocked them off of when you search Wicked Good Podcast. So, crisis potentially averted, just because we pump out podcasts very frequently. But yeah, so keep us rising in the ratings. Let us crush Wicked Good Podcast. And you can leave us a review on iTunes. It would help us out quite a lot. Oh, wait. iTunes hasn't given us a thing yet, Ben. What the hell?
Yeah, our show is over. And
yeah.
iTunes has still not accepted our...
solid 3 weeks of waiting.
Yeah, they left us on red. We invited them to a private circle chat, and they said no. Yeah.
So you can, of course, listen to it on YouTube or podcasting services around the globe, but not iTunes. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time.